Shaq was going against the cream of the crop, and that was, I mean, by acclamation, like you talk about the best centers of all time, maybe not the best in Kareem, but I guess what impresses you more, it's like, I think that if you completely took a player, took the leash off of him and were like, do whatever you want, that was Wilt Chamberlain because he couldn't stop him, and he was better than his contemporaries, but there was so little competition. But like, I think a lot of players would have had similar scoring averages, with them. Like Shaq probably could have, hey Shaq, take 30 shots a game. I mean, we saw what Jordan did in 87, right? When he was taking 27, or what was it? 27, 28 shots a game. But he's averaging 37 points. I mean, Kareem could have done it, right? Like in the 70s.
See, I think Kareem is more of an argument because in respect to Shaq, with how the offensive fouls were called back in the day, there you could not draw contact offensively. So, however you want to put it, backing your opponent down in the 60s, or even touching somebody with an elbow, the amount of contact that Shaq produced to get position in his time, which was allowed, would not have been allowed in the 60s. I'm the Shaq, and we just go down the rabbit hole of what ifs. And this whole thing is what if. But to give you credit, I think that Kareem may have had a better shot of being able to do that. I think a lot of his point production, though, to be fair, came through those offensive goaltending rules and the over the backboard passes that they would do for the inbounds.
Oh, from the okay, yeah.
So a lot of his dominance during that time came through some of those rules that they ended up implementing against him. And really, he was an exception, and there's even exceptions in today's standards. Maybe not in respect to how Wilt Chamberlain is as a big man, but there have been exceptions in recent history to include guys like Steph Curry, who's able to just shoot at distance, at volume, and still have that production, and virtually with his off-ball movement and his on-ball dribbling capability, be able to get open and produce that exceptional capability that he has. In respect to Wilt Chamberlain, he did benefit off of things that were prior to them being stifled because of his dominance. So I do think there are exceptional players in the NBA now. And even though it seems like there's more parity, I still think that is kind of a ruse. And I think there was strong competition back in the 50s and 60s. It just doesn't look like it does today because of the change of the game, because of things that had to be innovative back then. I was actually talking with Politicus Rex and talking about the dribbling, how people say, well, back in the 50s and 60s, they couldn't dribble. That's what an argument is. That's when they invented all these dribbling drills. That's when Pistol Pete Maravich's father, Rex brought this up, started inventing most of these common dribbling drills that people utilize to become great dribblers.
Yeah.
So how can you knock somebody when they're creating the things that are being used today? I think it's nonsensical. And to the argument of the not having the talent during that time, I think it's just different. I think it was there. I think that they deserve to be there. You talked about segregation and those things. That is a part of it. I'm not saying that it's not. However, we're talking about the NBA. We're not talking about the world of basketball. So we're talking about the most dominant NBA player.
Yeah, it's all good points. Really, I mean, it's all been said. I mean, their resumes speak for themselves. And I mean, as far as really, I mean, what else can you say about Shaq? I mean, I think he's the reason I have Kobe top 10 too. I mean, but it's really just when you look at obviously people watching Wilt probably saw the same thing, but when you were watching Shaq's career, it was like you never saw more teams like try to build around stopping one man or scheming to do it than when the Lakers were on their run. Because like it was just like you had prime Duncan and a great David Robinson still, and they were still getting abused by Shaq simultaneously. And like you had a third year Shaq giving 30 points a game to Hakeem Olajuwon in the finals. You know, one of the best of all time. He was doing to Lonzo Mourning. Shaq was going against the cream of the crop, and that was, I mean, by acclamation. Like, you talk about the best centers of all time. Maybe not the best in Kareem, but up there. And it's really just, I mean, it was a huge big man. He is to be expected, but he was just so frightening because you knew what you're going to get from Shaq every time. You know, you're going to get 25 plus points, 15 rebounds, and the slowest pace era in the league's history, which matters because if you have someone who's wildly efficient, it's scary because you only so much of your. It's like if you don't have that, then you're just wasting your valuable shots. You know. So.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, there is disparity in respect to the pace because it's the pace is on average. So there's reasons why the pace is that slow or that fast. And Shaq, especially when he was as dominant as he was in the early 2000s, it wasn't the same Shaq, or in the beginning it was more so, but that he was running up and down the court it slowed down significantly after that first championship. And I do think that people were scheming against Wilt specifically. And I think with those rule changes, they were being lobbied aggressively to scheme against him by going to the league and saying, hey, this is unfair for one reason or another. And the Lakers did the same thing with Shaq, except on the opposite side of it. So they said, hey, hack a Shaq. That's not fair. It's the last 2 minutes of the game, and all you're trying to do is just slow the game down and have Shaq shoot free throws because he shoots at a 30% efficiency.
Yeah.
And I mean, to your point, I think that at least in common knowledge that, or at least a collective recent knowledge, they would say that David Robinson, I'm not saying that they're not fantastic players. I think if I were to put all-time great centers of the past versus all-time great centers of more recent history, I would lean that they're more so in the more recent history. However, that doesn't mean that the top ones are in there as well, because I think that Wilt Chamberlain and Bill Russell and my man George Mikan.
Yep, new Mikan was coming.
Yep, are up there as the greatest centers of all time for a multitude of reasons. However, to your point, I think that Shaq did have some fantastic talent. I think he was a fantastic player, and he is one of the most dominant players in his own right in different ways.
I have him 6 all time.